This is afternoon programming with L. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 20 of afternoon programming. It's your boy L here. Today, I got another guest, man. Man, we go way back to the Heavy as the Crown tour. Even before that, because I've known you through DJ Kerosene. Shout out to the homie Kerosene. Yep. But man, it's so funny. Whenever I think about that tour, and I know I said this earlier, but I think about just watching these poker videos with you on the tour, on the tour bus of what was the cat's name? What's his name? It's like Johnny
Scotty Nguyen.
Scotty Nguyen. And then he had this phrase that we would always say on the tour, and it'd be like, "Let's poker, baby."
You got to set it up though, so the people can see. So Scotty Nguyen is a Vietnamese first generation immigrant.
Yes.
And he came to the country with nothing in his pocket, learned poker, and became a millionaire off of it. And he looks like a pawn shop. He just has nothing but gold chains on, rings, everything. He's got like a slick back Jerry curl / mullet.
Yeah.
We learned how to play poker, Texas Hold'em on the bus in between cities. And he was the character that stood out. So
exactly, man.
Anytime you hear that, that's Scotty Nguyen.
Exactly. It's so funny, man. It's hilarious. But let me introduce you, man. It's my good friend, man, my brother, Uncle Dibbz. What's going on with your brother?
El Matic, what's up, man?
Man, I'm good, bro. I'm good, man. It's for those who don't know, I was gonna say too, formerly DJ DiBiase, the $1 Million DJ.
Yes,
man,
yes.
Can you tell me because I didn't know, for people who don't know, Dibbz is this amazing cook, amazing chef. You have your own brand of seasoning. Hey, you got it right here, ready to promote. Where can people find you and purchase like seasoning? Because it's great.
Thank you, man. So yeah, as I said, I'm Uncle Dibbz, formerly DJ DiBiase. I do have my own line of all natural organic seasonings, anything from lemon pepper right here, Atlanta lemon pepper mild, to King Creole blend, to whatever seasoning you can use in the kitchen. It's all available at UncleDibbz.com, at Uncle Dibbz on all social media. So if you're looking for me, want to holler at me, hit me up.
Yeah. Man, so I actually want to, I'm so glad that you're here today. Thank you for even, making time for me. But I want to ask you, since we're on the subject of your seasoning stuff, how did that come about? Have you always been like, you love cooking, and then like, cause I met you as a DJ. That's how I met you. You were like spinning for Crip. Shout out to Crip. And then on the tour that we on, the Heavy as the Crown tour, we actually had a day where you cooked, and I was like, God damn, this is some good ass food. I can't remember if it was like North Carolina or South Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah, and like we were staying at this hotel, and I think we were like, we're hungry, and then you was like, why don't we all just chip in? Everybody put in, $20, however much, and we'll just make this great big dinner and this meal. And the food was amazing. The presentation was up. I was like, damn, bro, I didn't know you could cook. So like, how did that come about?
Honestly, man, I was a latchkey kid as a child, and my mom, she would work overnight, and so when I would get home, she was sleeping and getting ready for work. So I had to fend for myself a lot of the times, and I remember first learning how to make eggs, for breakfast for myself in the morning at maybe like 7, 8 years old. And then, of course, you want to, make that a little bit better, start learning how to make this, start learning how to boil stuff. And so anyway, as I got older, I just always took the cooking naturally. It wasn't like a big endeavor or I was trying to go to culinary school. It's just a matter of survival. Mm. But then one thing I learned about food is that it brings people together, such as music does. Mm. And so I used to have these big cookouts at my spot in Atlanta back in the day. I would just have these barbecues, kind of like the same mindset of that cookout that we did on tour. Everybody just brings something to the cookout. So if you're vegan and you want to do some vegan burgers or whatever, bring that to the cookout. If you want some ribs, bring that to the cookout. And I would just chef it up. And, it'll just be a good vibe, music playing in the background, and everybody leaving with their belly full. So, with the seasonings and everything like that, of course, we had the pandemic last year, and everything stopped. No touring, no parties, no club. Yeah. So a lot of my revenue streams just kind of shut off from one day to the next. It was just like, boom. So I always had an idea of wanting to do something with the culinary side of things. And just after some brainstorming, prior to the pandemic actually gave me time to actually sit and lock in and make it. So, I came up with some prototypes. I came up with my first 3 seasonings. And next thing you know, I would say about June, I put it out and the response was amazing. And it just motivated me to make even more and more seasonings. And I love what I'm doing.
Yeah. So then you said this was prior to the pandemic. So when did that idea first start to develop of like, did you, prior to you actually releasing it, did you have like your own little bottle of seasonings? Like, hey, this is where I put this, and this together. And that was like your secret seasoning?
Exactly. So I actually moved to Miami in 2019. And, Miami is just a real hustler city. It's such as Atlanta, but Miami's cost of living is just way higher. So everyone there has got 2 or 3 hustles. It doesn't matter if it's corporate, street, whatever. So, I just got really kind of creative down there too. It's a very creative city as well. So I was living in a condo at the time, so I didn't have a backyard. So I kind of do the cookouts in the house. So I have people come over. And one thing I hated doing was having like to sort through all these different seasonings when I'm like making a steak or whatever. So what I would do, I'd take like a empty bottle of like Old Bay or something like that, or any seasoning, tear the label off, put some tape, and just put Dibbz steak seasoning or Dibbz chicken seasoning. And so it'd just be my go-to. People are like, hey, what is that you're grabbing? I was like, that's just my little custom blend. Can you make me a bottle of that? I'm like, I'm not really selling it. I'll just throw some in a bag, a Ziploc bag for you. You can have it. But then, like I said, once the pandemic came, it gave me time to really explore it. Did a lot of research just as far as, how to do it. Like I have no background in how to make a food product or anything like that. Yeah. And, this is another thing I want to say, like this internet, it's a very, you almost feel like you should be paying for internet outside of the Wi-Fi bill because you can literally learn anything that you want to learn. Now, if you're just on the internet looking at garbage all day, guess what you're going to intake? Just garbage. But whether it's want to be how to start a podcast, how to make a seasoning, how to do hair, whatever you want to learn, it's out there. So use your time wisely. But I used my time wisely. Once the pandemic came, from March to June, I just developed, trial and error. And in June, I launched of 2020, and it's been on ever since.
Okay, so it's going on a year and some change now.
Exactly.
Wow. So then how many lines of seasoning do you have right now?
Right now, I've got about 10 different products. Everything ranges from small seasonings like this, and then I have big 32-ounce bottles. I also have other products as far as like cast iron skillets, aprons, shirts, cutting boards. Like, it's really a movement. It's not, this is just the beginning right here. I just did my first pop-up dinner in Houston, where I'm located now, 2 weeks ago, the week before Thanksgiving, and that sold out. My first pop-up dinner ever. So, the response has been really good. It's been a blessing.
Man, that's so dope. So then do you have plans? Because I feel like I saw in your stories, and I don't, you ain't got to say if you're trying to hold it close to the chest right now. But what do you have like any pop-ups coming up soon that you're working on right now? Definitely.
Looking at a couple cities. I definitely want to do something back at the crib in Atlanta. That's, what people have been asking for the most. So, I definitely look for around end of winter, top of spring to be doing something in Atlanta. I'm just trying to find the right venue for it, black-owned restaurant for it. Wow. And, so that'd probably be the next city. But UncleDibbz.com, subscribe to that email list, and all the events and everything you need to be updated with will come to you straight to your email box.
Man, that's so dope. I can already see you. Man, this is like on the topic. I can see you doing like YouTube videos of like, look, I'm gonna show you. You know how like the Food Network see you on there or do your own thing like on YouTube, like all professionally shot. Like Uncle Dibbz about to show you how we get it done in the kitchen, and just going through the process, man. But
I'm gonna tell you something funny though. I'm already kind of doing that, but I'm doing it with TikTok.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people sleep on TikTok. They think it's just something that you go up, kids just dancing on there.
Yeah.
And I owe a lot of my tangible success to TikTok because on there, like I call it diet YouTube. People go on there and they just want to see quick videos to either make them laugh, learn, or something that's shareable. And I do these quick minute-long videos of how to make a steak, how to make some pasta. I just did one today. I just uploaded one today about how to make soup from scratch without can. And people are just so engaging with it. And so a lot of the times, like a lot of the people that, I would get orders from everywhere, from Korea to Guam to all over
Wow.
America. I'm like, where are these people coming from? TikTok, man. Like, don't sleep on TikTok. It's definitely my favorite platform out right now.
Wow, that's so crazy. So then to kind of go back a little bit, because like I was saying earlier, I met you as a DJ, the $1 Million DJ, putting on the suits and just looking fly, bro, doing your thing. I was like, damn, bro, I don't know how to dress like that, but hey, that shit, it looks hard. So like, I know we spoke about it a little bit before, but you're saying you're retired from DJing now. Like, was that something, did that come from a place of like, you just weren't in love with it anymore, or it just wasn't because of the pandemic, or what made you make that decision?
It's kind of a culmination of things, man. Honestly, I know that I don't like to say the pandemic was a blessing for me, because I know a lot of people lost a lot of people during the pandemic, lost a lot of money, lost a lot of everything. But for me, 2020 was just like the pause button that I didn't know I needed. Going out on tours, being on planes all the time, to hotels, to just living a fast lifestyle. I needed a timeout just to kind of look and game plan what I'm going to be doing for this second chapter of my life, or this next chapter of my life. And, for me, I didn't come up with the season and it was like, okay, I'm just going to stop DJing and doing this now. Yeah. But I'm a big believer, like, God has other plans for you, but you can't open up other doors when you got your foot in another door. And I never wanted to be a jack of all trades, but master of none. I really wanted to put my all into something and see what can come of it. And, like I said, I've had a lot of success. It feels right with the cooking, with DJing, just some of the ways the music is coming out now. And, DJing in clubs, you kind of have to cater towards a certain type of demo and certain type of sound. And, as I get older, I guess certain stuff I'm playing, I get a little bit more conscious about what I'm kind of vibrations I'm putting out there. I mean, you can even look at this Travis Scott situation with the Astro World situation. And, you listen to his music. I know we've all listened to Travis Scott's music, but when you really listen to it and the frequencies and everything like that, it's really not that positive. You know what I mean? And so when stuff like that happens, can you really be surprised? I don't know. I mean, so even for my situation, I just couldn't come out of the pandemic doing the same thing, nor did I want to. So I just looked at it as a nice segue into something else, instead of just abruptly, maybe in 2019 or a few years from now, just to kind of switch it up. I was like, you know what, let me use this as an opportunity to kind of try something different. I can always come back to DJing if I want, but I love what I'm doing right now. I wake up excited about it. And I can't say with DJing, I was still getting that excitement or that love out of it. So to me, it was time to move on.
Man, I get that like 100%, because I've had moments like that in my life too, where like it more so, I mean, you met me as a photographer, and then I don't even know, because I'm the type of guy, I kept a lot of stuff to the chest, especially on tour. Like I didn't even want Crip to know at the time when I was on tour. I was like, that I play the piano. I was like, well, this is kind of like, my thing. It made me happy over here. And then being a photographer, going to shows like you were talking about, being on tour, for those who don't know, being on tour, like people kind of see it in this kind of like, oh, that's amazing. You go city to city and you get to live life and see all these different things. But man, it's really like, it's work, because you're out there putting on a show for the audience. You're out there trying to give people the best show that they can get. And like, I remember when I got off tour, man, I was burnt creatively, and I was like, bruh, like, I don't know what to do. And it was like a lot of stuff going on in my mind at the time. And I was just like, let me reset. And then same thing happened with the pandemic. I was working at this place that I did not like working at. I was like, I hate this job. And it kind of made me reset, kind of like how you were saying, into doing things that I actually wanted to do and chasing those things. And kind of like you saying, just changing the vibrations that were coming in and that I was putting out. And so it's interesting to hear you say that. So then now I want to ask you, so then your sets, your turntables, did you sell those, or you still got them like kind of in storage?
Man, they're definitely in storage. They're kind of out of reaching range right now. I didn't retire from loving music. You know what I'm saying? Like, gotcha. I still got records. I still listen to music while I'm working, while I'm cooking, especially. Music still means a lot to me. But being in the industry, music industry, nightlife industry, I would say like I'm retiring from that. You know what I mean? So if you see me pop up to do a set somewhere, don't be like, well, you said you were like, I'm just playing some records and I'm here for fun. You know what I mean? But, I still love music. That's never going to change.
Yeah, no, I digged it, man. Definitely. So then as far as you, where you are now, what do you have any like goals that you're trying to reach, or kind of you're just enjoying what's happening at the moment with like, the seasonings and what you could, I feel like you seem like you got a plan in your mind type of person. You're like, okay, bet you have like a board in your house or something. You're like, this is what we're doing to get to here,
Yeah, man. I'm a big believer in having your own GPS for your life, and as corny as it may sound, and whatever the case may be, write stuff down, whether it's in your notes in your phone or actually on an actual piece of paper. And every couple of months, look at the goals that you made for yourself. And it feels really good to check off some stuff. Mm-hmm. And it feels really good to look back and be like, damn, that was a lot of money to me, or wow, that was really like a far-fetched deal. I do that every day now. And you can really start to tangibly see or visually see your progress. So, for me, goals as far as, the seasoning line is to definitely, get in stores pretty soon, because I'm strictly e-commerce right now.
Okay.
I like to have a one-on-one connection with the customer instead of just sending them to Amazon, and I don't have any of their information or collecting a database. So that's important to me, with the right distribution company, because I distribute myself. Pop-ups in other cities. I already got like a list of cities that I want. Stuff like you were talking about being on TV. I did my first TV interview last month.
Oh,
so
nice.
To do more of those in 2022. I have a lot of goals, but goal setting is very, very important to any type of career that you're doing, just so you can, when you feel lost, when you have those moments of like, why am I doing this? You can refer back to that and hopefully steer you right back on the right track.
Definitely. So then, since you were saying earlier, you still got a love for music, and like you still check in and you got, records. Music is always coming out here and there. Is there anything on your radar that you feeling, or like with the direction that it's going right now, like anything that caught your attention? Because like, I'll give you an example. Like for me, I really love what Silk Sonic came out with. It felt like, damn, I grew up listening to this, but it's kind of like the new version of them doing it, but still with the hints of the soul music, from back in the day.
Yeah. I'm keeping it real with you, man. I listen to a lot of older stuff.
Okay.
The older I get, like I really just revisited Tupac's last album, Machiavelli. Actually, because I remember when it first came out, I had an older sister, so anything that she had, I would listen to. I remember just seeing that cover of him, crucified on the cross, and it being so controversial. Yeah. And then now I can read like the Wikipedia, like what happened. And like, I didn't know it was called a 7-day theory because he recorded it in 7 days. Really recorded it, I think, in 3 days or 4 days. And it took 3 days to master it. So like he did the whole album in 7 days, which is crazy. But I like that last Kanye project, Donda. That's probably the most recent thing. I've been loving everything Larry June has been coming out with, man. Larry June is probably like one of my favorites new artists, even though he's been on the grind for a minute. I'm loving I was watching the Bone Thugs and it's battle last week. So I started bumping some old Bone Thugs and 3-6 stuff, but I'm literally all over the place, man. Like,
I feel you.
Been listening to a lot of Dilla lately, a lot of Alchemist instrumentals and stuff. Shout out to Kerosene. I know he's gonna like me saying that, but I'm really all over the place, man. I love Tidal because I can just literally easily just stream it and put stuff on shuffle, and it has the best curated playlist or whatever you listen to. Like Apple Music be like, oh, I like hip hop. Here's a song. Here's an Ass by Big Sean. It's like, come on, man. Like I'm not. I need you to do a little bit better with your algorithm there, Apple Music. But shout out to Tidal, Black owned. Everyone use Tidal, man. Yeah. Come on, let's get it.
Definitely. Dope. That's what's up. So then let's, if you don't mind, let's go a little bit further into the past to go back to when you were a DJ, like, and that was like your full-time thing. Like, how did you get into DJing? Was that something that you kind of had friends who were into it, or someone like older that what do you remember? Like, do you have a moment where you're like, okay, I want to pursue being a DJ?
Yeah, so this is like the 2000s, and DJing really wasn't popular. It was all about rapping. It wasn't even like, I don't even think producers were even that popular yet. It's literally all about rapping. So DJing was not a popular thing to do. No one I knew owned turntables. It's just because no one was using turntables anymore. Back in the 90s, you still had your parents that had their turntables from the 70s or 80s. So they were around. They weren't around anymore. It's very hard to find turntables. So how I got into DJing, I didn't even know what DJing was. I just remember listening to the radio as a kid in Atlanta, listening to people like DJ Jelly especially, and loving the radio from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. specifically, because that's when the mix show was. So I always thought it was very interesting how, like, as one song ended, the next one began and they mixed perfectly and everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was listening to a DJ at that time. I just was like, oh, I really like the radio from this time to this time. As I got older, ironically, my mother worked in radio too.
Wow.
I was able to say, okay, I see that live. And I remember getting into high school and making mixtapes and like literally taking a whole Sunday using like the, computer in the family room just to burn CDs all day, just to pass out at school the next day. I wasn't even selling them.
Yeah.
Just to pass out at school the next day. I would just make these mixtapes with my virtual DJ mix on the computer. I didn't even have turntables, couldn't afford them. So that kind of got me some exposure. I remember I got my first gig, which was like a prom after party.
Wow.
And then I kind of was done with DJing. I was like, that's like saying you want to be an astronaut or something. Like, I'm like, I don't have any connections in the industry, not anything like that. But then I went to this party in college in Athens, and I heard the DJ, and he sucked. And I was like, yo, I could do this. So I went back to my house, pulled my turntables out, and just practiced the whole summer, took free gigs. And the next thing you know, I met the right people and started DJing parties like in not big clubs, but 21 and up clubs. I was like 19 years old. Wow. And then just one thing led to the next. That's kind of how I got off into it. It was way different. It wasn't about, followers and, Instagram and stuff. You really had to get out in the street and meet people. So that's how I got on.
Exactly. Cause I remember, I think I was talking to Kerosene and do you know Empress Raw? You know her? Of course. The DJ, everybody knows. If you're a DJ, there's a community. It's like there's a community within the community. So y'all be like, oh, I know them. But I remember growing up listening to DJs, and every DJ, not kind of like to bring down everybody else who's doing it today, but they had their own distinct style, almost as if they were an artist themselves, Right. And so that's how I grew up learning about DJs. And then, of course, growing up in the mixtape game, there's like a whole different thing of just going on. Okay, so then were you, like, when you first got your first turntables, did you get like some Technics, or what was your first set of tables that you got?
There are some new marks. I definitely didn't get Techniques. Like, Techniques are like the Cadillac of turntables.
Oh, okay.
About $700 a piece. So when you're 18 years old, you got to get the turntables, and you got to get the mixer, and you got to get some speakers. So
yeah,
you're looking at a good $3,000 to $5,000, depending on, how much you're trying to spend. And that's a lot of money at the time. So I got what I could get. Some football player was selling some turntables that he had in his basement that his parents got him for like $100. Wow. And I remember I picked them up after school one day, Gemini mixer, 2 new marks, and I couldn't even afford Serato or a laptop. So I still was using vinyl records. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Serato was out.
Yeah.
So I remember coming to the clubs on my first gigs, bringing crates of records, and people looking at me like, there's a thing called Serato out, you can use your computer. I was like, yeah, but I'm kind of broke, so I can't do that. Now it's like a nostalgic thing to do, always bringing vinyl out. Like, no, we used to bring vinyl out because we couldn't afford Serato. But, vinyl has definitely made a big comeback, so that's dope. But that was my first set. And I actually ended up giving those turntables to another DJ. She was on the come up at the time. And, her name was Mimi, actually. And I remember I gave them to her at Underground Atlanta, and she just started crying. And I was just like, you know what? I'm glad I'm able to pass that along and everything like that. So shout out to Mimi. I don't know where she's at nowadays, but hopefully she still got DJing in her blood.
No, definitely. That's so dope. So then from to go back when you first did like your first gig, so you get these turntables right from that first set that you got. Were you nervous? Like, were you always nervous in the beginning when you were doing gigs? You're like, man, because I know for DJs you gotta kind of feel out the crowd, and some DJs are like, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna do me, and like you gonna vibe with this. And there's other DJs who kind of like, okay, you fucking with this, or you know you kind of switch it up if they're not feeling it. Were you ever nervous of like, okay, how am I gonna get this crowd to vibe with me?
I mean, I was just a nervous dude in general. I would get nervous just to order a pizza on the phone to talk to the pizza guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was always just a nervous kid growing up. So, of course, when you're on the spotlight and everyone's looking at you, you're DJing. Of course, I was super nervous. But as time goes along, you got to have a nice balance. And what makes a great DJ is he doesn't play for just him or herself, but he doesn't also just try to get the crowd's validation with every single record. It's like it's hard to explain. It's just a nice, even exchange of here's something for you, here's something for me. You know what I mean? And that takes time to kind of understand. DJing is a very psychological art form. I like to feel like DJs and comedians are very kind of like intertwined as far as just how the mentality is. When you're a comedian, you got to go up on stage and make people that don't want to laugh. With DJing, you got to make people that don't want to dance. And you're graded by how much people laugh or how much people dance. Not necessarily if you're funny or not necessarily if you're a good DJ or not. Other factors determine whether you're good or not. Yeah. We can be in the same party. Some person can say, that DJ is the best DJ I ever heard. He played all my shit. Someone right next to you, that person can be like, that DJ sucks. He didn't play nothing I liked. So it's such a variance of opinion. Yeah. And you have to have a strong mental to not get so yo-yoed off of that. So I tell a lot of DJs, younger DJs, just anytime someone tells you that you suck, don't let it get to your head. But also, someone tells you that you're the shit, don't let that get to your head. You know what I mean? Because if you start going off of other people's validation or discrediting you, you're just going to yo-yo yourself to death. You just got to figure out, you got to understand, that you're the shit and do your job and make sure you're happy at the end of the day. Forget what everyone else is saying. Forget what she said. Forget what he said. Just make sure you're happy at the end of the day. And the person that's paying you is happy at the end of the day. Because that's important too.
No, exactly. It's funny hearing you say that you were a nervous guy because, like, I mean, of course, I met you later on in life, but I knew you, bro. I swear, like, when I knew you, I was like, damn, this motherfucker's so confident because you was like you was like you for some reason, I guess maybe when I met you, of course, you've had experience in life and everything, and like I knew you as $1 million DJ, and you was dressing fly and chill, and you just had this like swag about you. And so it's funny to hear that, like, back in the day, you was like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, life will definitely is the greatest teacher. Mm-hmm. And I kind of don't really like this whole protect your energy trend that we got going on now, because I feel like certain things you got to go through just to grow you. And nowadays, everyone's so concerned about getting hurt or not being accepted or whatever the case may be that they shy away from stuff. I'm not sitting there saying bullying is good or whatever. I wasn't bullied as a kid at all. But you have to go through certain things in your adolescence so that when you become an adult, you're prepared for it. And I feel like this next generation, they're so used to just looking at stuff on the phone and not talking to each other. It's like I can tell how old you are now. Just forget what you look like. But if you're able to make eye contact with me when we're walking past the hall and each other, or whatever the case may be. And, I come from a generation, it's not even that old or anything like that, but you still, if you're an 80s baby, you still know what it's like to have to press the buttons on the phone to make a phone call, but then also you know how to make a web page if you need to make something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We have that perfect balance. But if you're born like 2000s, I feel bad because it's just like you don't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? And, certain things that you got to go through just in life just to grow yourself. So by the time you met me, I must have been 25, 26 or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I've definitely been through a lot. I didn't come out DJing on some, you know, where you saw me at or whatever the case may be. It's just all through a progression, you know what I mean? So, you know, everything in life up until that point, I had great mentors, I had great OGs, I had great people in my life to kind of guide me and kind of, you know, I kind of took bits and pieces of, and that's who I became.
Yeah, definitely. So then going, sticking with the DJing experiences. So let's say, you know, how long, when did you start DJing, or like how long were you DJing?
I started DJing when I was like 17.
Okay.
And then, you know, I'm 33 now. So I guess I would say up until 33, 32.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you've got like experience in there. Now I wanted to ask you, so being in Atlanta, if I can ask, how did you link up with Crip? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah. So, basically it was 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I was up like at 1 a.m. And I got a phone call from a 212 number. Anybody in the industry knows you always pick up when a New York phone number calls you or LA phone number calls you because it means some money.
Yeah.
So I picked up, or somebody texted me, and it was Johnny Shipes, who was the head of Cinematic Music Group, the label that Crip was on prior, you know, when I met him at least.
Yeah.
And they said, you know, they got this big tour coming up with Macklemore. I didn't even know who Macklemore was, but they sent me the dates, and I saw the venues, and it wasn't no Center Stage or Tabernacle. It was like Madison Square Garden, Staples Center, American Airlines Arena. I'm like, okay, this is pretty big.
Yeah.
But that's when I linked with Crip to actually become his DJ. Prior to that, though, I actually DJ Crip's very first show after he got signed to Def Jam in Atlanta. I was at this place called the Spring Fourth Center off of Spring Street near Apache Cafe. And I was an opening DJ for that show. So, you know, I always kind of felt like I was around him through his whole career. We, you know, definitely show love anytime we saw each other. But Wally Sparks was his original DJ. So I think management was trying to go in a different direction with their stage presence and everything like that. So I got the call to get on board. And I remember I was like, I always learned, like, don't ever jump at opportunity, you know, kind of marinate with it a little bit. Yeah. So they let me know. I was like, okay, I'll let you guys know. And I called my homeboy, who's also, been a drummer for everyone from Waka Flocka to Drake to everybody. And I called him. I said, hey, these guys are asking me to go on tour. You think I should do it? He said, what? What do you want to stay in Atlanta the rest of your life? Yeah, you need to go. So I was like 23 years old. I went on my first tour, and, you know, I know what you said about touring and like how it could be very draining and everything like that. And I know, especially for photographers, it's like as soon as I'm done on stage, my job is done. But photographers, you got to, before, during the show, and after the show, it's a lot that you got to do, and you got to have that content constantly coming. Yeah. But for me, being 23 years old, traveling around the world, you know, being able to eat with Talib Kweli, you know, just on the humble and everything like that was amazing. And, you know, got to see a lot of the world. So I owe a lot to, you know, Crip and the whole team over there because, you know, definitely got some notches under my belt.
Wow. That's so dope. So then you've DJ'd. So then if that's like the first time you linked up and you were talking about Madison, so you got to DJ at Madison Square Garden, right?
Yeah, I did. So.
And what was that like at 23? Like surreal, was it?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was born in Jersey. So, you know, I was born like literally 20 minutes from Manhattan.
Wow.
And, you know, I just remember going through the security, you know, where, you know, the players go and everything like that. And the backstage. And then it's a New York show. At that time, Crip was signed to Def Jam. So everyone is there from the label and everything like that. Yeah. It was really kind of surreal, you know what I mean? And, you know, even going to LA, Staples Center, and being in the Lakers locker room and Clippers locker room. I mean, as a big sports fan, because I'm a big sports guy, that was like the shit to me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, I never in a million years, you know, never as a little boy was like, I was going to be in these arenas. I don't play basketball professionally, but, you know, it was definitely a blessing. It's something I always look back at and like, you know what, that was definitely a great time in my life for sure.
No, definitely. Cause I feel the same way whenever I link with you, and then I was given the opportunity to go on tour. Cause like, that like taught me like a whole lot of not just about the industry, but also about myself and just how things are done. Cause I remember like creating, and it was so dope to see a lot of different parts of the States that one, I probably would have never gone to.
Right.
And then also just to experience and be around like what felt like a family, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's like one thing. Cause like, I remember being there, like I said, I think I was, I don't know if you remember this, but what was it? We were in Memphis one time, and I remember being in like a gift store or like a gift souvenir shop or something, and I can't remember what it was, but you told me, like, hey, start recording, and I remember it was like some older women. And you was like, hey, we're looking for some drip right now. And they're like, and you were like, and then they were like, what's drip? You're like, oh, you don't know what the drip is? And then she was like, that's, you were just putting them on, and it made me like laugh. There's moments like that. I probably still have some of this stuff on my hard drive just sitting there.
Put that out, man.
I know. There's so much stuff, but moments like that, because I think I had the most fun on there because like we would always be cracking jokes and just, chilling out and stuff. Moments like that. And but yeah, to go back, it's like touring, like it did have its fun moments. Of course, with everything, I was like, oh, well, I got a job to do. I got to make sure we got stuff for social media and so on and so forth. But it was so much fun because I was blessed to be with like you, Crip, and like shout out to Shala and all them, and like just good people. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, but that's crazy. Okay, so then you played like Madison Square Garden, Staples Center. And then, so like once that died down, I know, like you were saying, I think you said earlier, did you say that, of course, once the pandemic happened, like you kind of were like, this ain't really doing it as much anymore? Is that what happened? You were saying?
I feel like I kind of plateaued. I felt like I kind of did everything I set out to do with DJing. I never really wanted to be like, oh, I'm trying to put out an album.
Gotcha.
That's the natural next progression, from DJing, is to kind of get your own artist and kind of play that game. But the music industry and nightlife industries are can be very, very shady, and it can be very taxing on your spirit and everything like that. And, so for me, I just knew that I didn't really have anything else, in my opinion, that I really needed to accomplish anymore.
Yeah.
I've traveled the world, even for my own, just doing events. Like if you see brunch parties, like you see the turned up brunches you see now, I created that. You know what I mean? Prior to 2014, you never saw that at any restaurants where there was a DJ twerking on the couches and stuff like that. Me and my boy Sean Fine created Get Brunch in Atlanta, and that was a whole thing in itself. That was a big part of my life, just throwing events as well. But a lot of that is, promoting and having to sell yourself constantly. And it could be very, 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 very taxing.
I get that.
So once everything shut down in 2020, and I didn't have to do that, nor could I do that. I was like, okay, I need to figure something else out. And I knew I could never have a regular job. Like I can't be told what to do. That's one of my traits. Like I cannot have a boss. I have to be in charge. So it's very hard for me to take orders. You know what I'm saying? So starting my own business, having an actual product, something tangible, to me is very important, especially with these shutdowns and everything like that. And also I can only DJ one place at a time. I can't DJ in Atlanta, Miami, Guam, Canada, all at once, but my seasonings could be being used tonight for dinner all over the world.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I just had to get like a bigger picture, a bigger mindset of where I wanted to go just as a person, not DiBiase, not any of that stuff, but just me as a person. And this was a path that I'm on for right now. So, it's doing good for me right now. So I'm happy with it.
Man, that's so dope, man. I'm so happy to see you doing your thing, bro. Like it's so good to see, and it brings a lot of joy to me. So then the last thing I want to ask you before we finish the podcast here is going through the transitions that you've gone through to where you are now, from DJ to entrepreneur, and you have your own seasonings, and I can only imagine there's bigger things coming. For people who maybe are in like the same type of mindset, what is like some advice that you would give to somebody who's like in a similar path but their own? What is something that you would give them?
A lot of people, especially, when they're on an entrepreneurial path or say they, do these services or have this product or whatever the case may be, they try to wait until the water is exactly the right temperature before they jump in. And that's the worst thing you can do. You need to hurry up and get your mistakes out the way. So by the time people's eyes are on you, you're better than what you needed to be. The only way you can find out how good of a swimmer you are is if you actually jump into the water. A lot of people are so scared to jump into the water. This isn't right. I'm not telling you to come out with a raggedy site or a raggedy product. Yeah. But you should always be able to look back and look at your first product or your first site or whatever the case might have been and be like, damn, what was I thinking? Because that means progress. You're able to look back and be like, man, I've grown so much from there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, look at people's logo. Look at the history of Coca-Cola's logo. To see like what their logo looked like in the 1800s and then to now and everything like that. Progression is natural. It's not something to be shy from or be scared. So, a lot of times people will look at somebody, say somebody like me, say somebody's looking at me, say they're actually a real chef at a restaurant in Atlanta, whatever. Why does he have a seasoning? He can't. He's why is he doing that? He didn't go to culinary. Why? Well, I did it and you didn't do it. While you were thinking about it, I was actually making it happen. That's the difference between the person that made it and the person that's talking about the person that made it. And I'm not saying I made it, but I'm on the way. You know what I'm saying? And, this product right here has just basically shown me like, you have to trust God. You got to trust yourself. And you have to really just get out there and swim. Yeah. And naturally, have you ever seen like a baby, how they teach babies how to swim?
Yeah, it's crazy.
They just throw them in the water.
Yeah.
Like 9-month-old baby, just throw them in the water. And if you haven't seen anything like that before, you're like, what? But if you watch them, they take to it naturally. It's like they're back in their mother's womb. And they figure it out and they start floating and everything like that. A baby that can't even talk, but it's swimming. So it's exactly the same thing with the entrepreneurial path. You literally have to just do it. Don't go into it ignorantly or DiBiase just said, or Dibbz just said, just do it. So I'm going to go in here with no knowledge and just try it. No, educate yourself, study other people that did it and figure out what they did wrong. So you don't have to do those mistakes. Educate yourself. But bottom line, whatever it is you're trying to do, like Nike, just do it. And you figure it out as you go along. Don't try to be perfect. Perfection is the enemy of profitability. Big time.
Man, preaching, bro. Preach. That's what's up, man. Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast. One more time before we close out, promote anything you want to push out there, your website, your social media, anything.
Yeah, UncleDibbz.com, all natural seasonings, no anti-caking agents, no preservatives. If you look on some of the labels, go in your kitchen right now, and you look on some of the labels on your seasoning, I guarantee you there's some words in there you feel like you're looking at a science project. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And if you're going to be all uptight about, I don't want to put this in my body, I'm not going to get into vaccine talks or anything like that. Well, what are you putting in your food? What are you putting in your food? How many of those ingredients do you really have in your kitchen or do you see at the supermarket? So it's very important that you pay attention to what you're using. So for me, my seasonings are definitely the best seasonings out right now that cater to flavor, to organic ingredients, and they're good. That's why my slogan is, that's good, shawty, because it's just so good. Follow me on TikTok. I am 2,000 followers away from 100,000 followers on TikTok. So follow me on TikTok. I post videos up there every day, recipes for the holidays. Go to UncleDibbz.com for the seasonings. Subscribe. You get 10% off your first order. And L, like I said, I'm very happy to see your progression too as well. Like, we didn't even get into a lot of the tour stories, but that tour, you made that tour. Like, I always connected with the photographers always, but shout out to Andrew Litton, shout out to Sig, shout out to you. You guys have always been my favorites to kind of bond with on the tour, as far as people that kind of just rotate each tour. Yeah. And we had some great laughs and a lot of downtime on tour, and it's very important who you have around you so that you kind of stay sane in between city to city. So much love to you, my guy.
Thank you so much, man. Well, everybody who's listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you rate, review. Really helps the podcast get to new listeners. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Follow Dibbz on all the social medias. It's Uncle Dibbz, right, for all social media?
Uncle Dibbz, Dibbz, Dibbz.
Thank you. And then make sure you follow Afternoon Programming on Instagram and TikTok. That's at Afternoon Programming. And other than that, we'll catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.